Welcome, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're joining from. We are speaking about emotional eating and diet cycles. And this is a very critical one, maybe like a sensitive one in our fitness journeys. And I've heard a lot of people complain about wanting to lose weight or go on a fitness journey, why they lose weight, how to handle food, and how food is such a very critical part of our journey. For example, we as humans, we are emotionally attached to food, and it's normal to emotionally react to food. It's normal to react emotionally and use food as a way to cope with certain emotions because we grew up in a society where some emotions are termed negative or a bad feeling. However, it's all natural. It's the way we were created. We were created with these emotions. But growing up, we have this sense, an idea that these emotions are negative. So when we feel them, we don't know how to react to them. Maybe when we're younger, we'd cry about it, or put up a fit, would react certain ways. But growing up, the way we cope with these emotions start to change. They start to look different. So sometimes you'll find that you would tend to go to food to help you calm these emotions. Maybe you're feeling nervous, maybe you're feeling sad, you just got a bad news. And food, once you eat food, you just have this way of, calming down, feeling good again because you have eaten this thing that tastes nice, you're feeling good about it. But the only downside to that is when food is the only way you manage emotions, you manage emotions that overwhelm you or underwhelm you. What I mean by this, and we're still going to talk about it in this lecture, this is more like an introduction. So when you're going through these emotions that overwhelm you, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed, you just can't calm down. So food is the only way to get you to you know, feel something. You want to feel something different from what you're feeling. So you tend to go towards food. Or maybe when you're feeling sad, you're feeling down, you're feeling like, you're not stimulated enough, you're feeling out of touch, numb per se. Food is the only thing that gets you going, that makes you happy, that makes you feel something different. So you get what I mean? So the reason is very critical, especially on our fitness journeys, is that sometimes you want to lose weight, sometimes you want to gain weight, and then you're stuck in this cycle with food because food is a very critical part of either you gain weight or not. Though it's not everything, but it's very key. How much you're eating directly affects your body size. So if you tend to go towards food and maybe you're not really very good at regulating your emotions, you would tend to react to food certain ways. You would tend to eat emotionally, and sometimes it leads to overeating, sometimes it leads to undereating. But we're basically focusing on overeating with food in this particular. All right, let's go into what emotional eating is. The first topic we're talking about, I'm going to break down what emotional eating is for us to really understand how it is completely natural to overeat and to eat emotionally. And if this is you, you tend to go to food to help you cope. You tend to go to food because it makes you really happy and it is genuine, it is natural. There's nothing to feel bad about. But as I always say, in your fitness journey, you have to you finally have to get to this point where you have to make a choice. Do I move towards my goal or do I move away from it? What I'm about to do now, this food I'm about to eat now, does it move me towards my goal or does it move me away from my goal? So, what is emotional eating? It is a tendency to increase food consumption in order to modify negative emotional states. So, as I explained in the beginning, if you're in this place, any emotion you term as negative or your body cannot tolerate anymore, if you're not in the optimal state, maybe you're hyper aroused or hypo aroused, and I'm going to really talk about that. It's you tend to use food as a way to, calm you down or bring you some level of emotion or maybe feel different. It's the tendency to consume food in order to modify a negative emotional state. And I talk about our emotions and our feelings a lot. It's one topic we tend to brush over it, like we should not really pay attention to our feelings. As I said, that is how we were brought up, not to pay attention to feelings. So we don't, as we've grown older, we don't know how to manage certain emotions. We don't know how to handle certain emotions. Then we would use food to help us cope. We would use food to make us feel differently. And we've termed some emotions negative, even if we don't know what it is. Because of the way it feels, we don't want to feel that way anymore, right? So many emotions make you feel, because you have to identify exactly what you're feeling to be able to handle your emotions when it comes to eating. And this is only applicable to you if you're on a fitness journey. Say you want to lose weight, or you want to gain weight, or you want to get fit, or you want to get healthier. You have to make a choice. You have to come to this realization. We tend to downplay how much our emotions affect our fitness in the grand scheme of things. It is usually that place where people give up and say, "Oh, I've given up." And because we give up, we'll never get to our fitness goals, because we tend to give up when things get hard. And it gets hard when our emotions are involved. Helping you learning to navigate your emotions when on a fitness journey is really critical. So you don't get to that place where you're like, "I've given up. I'm no more. This is na fight. I'm not your person." And I hear a lot of people saying this all the time. And it's I want to say, sounds I will not use the word because I'm a very compassionate coach. I would say it is not really helpful if your goal is to get to a certain point and you give up every time it gets hard. What this means is not just your fitness, it's you telling yourself that this is hard, I can't continue, I have to, stop here. I'm not capable of crossing this line. It's too hard. Maybe it's not hard. Maybe you're just not well informed. It's a natural occurrence, but because we don't know how to handle it, we know how to show up and exercise, we know how to show up and eat. But when it comes to slowing down and handling our emotions, a lot of us do not know how to do that. And saying from experience, I've had a lot of clients that when things get dicey, they start to blame themselves. "Oh, I drank 2 bottles of Coke today. I feel so bad. I'm never going to be able to get to my goal," because they expect it to just be, exercise and eat a certain way and you get your fitness goal. But it's not just that. It takes a whole lot of explorations that we don't get to hear these things, and we tend to feel like we are letting ourselves down when things get hard in that way, in an emotional way. Like fitness shouldn't be all that emotional, because when you're online and you see fitness videos of people really, mean that backgrounds, earpiece, lifting heavy, and people talk about how fitness helps them cope with sadness and depression and all of that. But what we don't see often is that part of fitness where you have to cry, stand up slowly, forgive yourself for all of the ways you've neglected yourself and you're feeling really down right now. And you want to just show up on the mat. Just showing up on the mat would change your whole day. That part of fitness, those little things, those small changes where you're eating a pack of biscuits and you stop. Like, I really want to get to my fitness goal. I don't have to eat this whole pack of biscuits. Those little changes, we don't talk about them enough because it's not so glamorous. It's not like a big thing that you have to celebrate, body transformations. Those are sometimes body transformation doesn't mean you have a better body image, but we sell body transformations before and after as I was fat, now I'm slim, now I feel better about myself. Sometimes, if we're telling ourselves the truth, we don't really feel better, because sometimes our approach to that changed body is affecting us way more than when we were in a bigger body size or when we were in a different body size. So why did I dive into all of this? I'm a strong believer that our moods, our behaviors, and our emotions affect our health and fitness more than coming to exercise and eating. We have to handle we have to learn how to regulate our emotions better in the long run so that we can get to our fitness goals and be able to sustain that lifestyle and be able to um, accept that new identity of who we are and what we are able to do. All right. And we are going to go into that in this webinar. It's an interesting one. There's so many factors. I'm going to just talk about this little one about our diet cycle and the things that influence us to diet. And they tend to also make us really emotional, affect our body image. There are three things: the media, our families, and our peers. So if you look at the messages on the media, what is the media telling you? I talked about before and after pictures of people. That means it's already telling you that thinness is what is acceptable. So I have to be as skinny as possible, or I just have to be skinnier than I am now. I just have to be leaner. I just have to be smaller. The number on the scale just has to go down. There's always something about smaller sizes. And we are in this trend now where Ozempic and so many weight loss products are really selling because being slim is like the preferable body size, right? And the media, our families too. You look around you, what is your family telling you? Are they saying, in this family, we are not fat people in this family, or they make comments about your body. So many of us from a very young age, our families made comments about our bodies, and we have been very self-conscious or dissatisfied with the size of our bodies right from a very young age, right from when we were very little. I remember in secondary school talking about fasting and dieting. It's ridiculous how we always want to be on the smaller side. And we never still, if you think about it deeply, many people still don't feel good being on the smaller size because of all the things you had to sacrifice. Fitness is about making compromises. As I said before, you have to come to a point where you're like, this is what I want. Am I going towards it or am I going away from it? But how it's at this point, it's not going to feel like you're sacrificing anything anymore. It's going to start to feel like I am making this choice because this is what I want. So I'm still of the opinion that you have to be clear on what you want. Why do you really want to lose weight? Do you think if I lose weight, I'm going to be more confident? Or if I gain weight, I'm going to be more confident? What is it for you? Is it about health? So whatever you're doing at this moment, is it making you healthy? Cutting out all these foods. And remember, because many of us do not have, we don't have an adequate knowledge on nutrition, because we all have our daily dietary requirements, the food we are meant to eat daily to be in a healthy body, like the required amount of calories, the required amount of nutrients your body needs to function optimally. And many of us are not reaching that required amount, but somehow we're not reaching that required amount. And then because of this prevailing need to lose weight, we are trying to be in a deficit. We're not yet reaching the optimal, you're trying to be in a deficit. So that means you're even really going way below the required amount for your body to stay healthy. And when you start to restrict in that sense, it means you're lacking a lot of nutrients. That is why a lot of us are always so hungry on a diet. Really hungry, really tired. Every time you start a diet, you typically do not have the energy to exercise because you're not even eating enough. And sometimes maybe we fast. I've had this instance where a client was fasting and at the end of the fast decided to eat yam and oil. If you think about it, yam, very good, oil, good. But after a 24-hour window and all the nutrients your body is getting is yam and oil, you could eat that yam and oil to fullness and your stomach is full, but then you're still hungry. The reason for that is that your body has not gotten the nutrients it needs, because it needs protein, carbohydrate, and fat, and other micronutrients. So you're just giving it just carbohydrate and basically fat, processed fat. So what this means is that your body is still looking for something, and it's going to keep telling you that it's hungry until it gets those nutrients. Another mistake we tend to do is we jump right into supplements. But the thing is that your body needs this macronutrient, whole foods, to be able to absorb these supplements, because supplements are already processed to a certain level. But we tend to replace nutritious food for supplements. And why do we do all of these things? Because of this pressure from the media, from our family, from our peers. What is trending now? Okay, people are taking this now. Okay, it helps you lose 10 kgs, but are you really healthy? Right? And we tend to bring it just down to body size and shape. But are you healthy on the inside? Do you feel good? Are you sleeping well? Are you how much are you thinking about food throughout the day? How much are you thinking about your body throughout the day? These things affect your dieting cycle. And if you want to break away from diet cycles, you really need to join the Breakthrough Wellness program. This is where I break down how to approach your fitness without having to go through this crippling anxiety about diets, about counting calories, calorie deficits, without really understanding what calorie deficit means. Some of us just use the word calorie deficit around knowing the amount of calories in a particular plate of food. But what do we do with it? We don't know. We're just making ourselves more anxious. And these things are all because of the media, our family, and our peers, what we see now around us. And this leads to comparison. You start to compare yourself with people you're seeing online. You start to compare yourself, and we internalize these things. After we compare and we think, oh, because she's lean, that's why she's bubbly, that's why she's happy. And because I'm in a bigger body size, I'm not as light as her. But the thing is, you don't have enough energy on the inside, because no matter your body size, if you are training consistently, eating nourishing foods, and taking care of yourself, you're going to have as good energy. What I mean by taking care of yourself, sleeping, resting, playing, having friends, going out with friends, hanging out, doing what human beings do, you're going to have enough energy and enough life in you to be bubbly, just like the lean person would do. And sometimes you're looking at the lean person, you might think, oh, they have everything figured out. But they could be feeling their own way, because there are different constructs to body image. Sometimes we throw the word body image around without really understanding what body image means. There are different constructs, how we see our bodies, or believe about our bodies, or think about our body. That's why you will see someone in a bigger body size and you see them dressing up, being playful, being bubbly, and you're wondering, it's not possible they're so confident in that body size, because I'm in this body size and I don't feel confident. And you think they would feel the same way you're feeling. But it boils down to how you think about your body, what you believe about your body. Okay, for example, if you believe that being fat means ugly, once you have a level of fat, you're going to start to feel ugly, because that's what you believe, that's what you think, that's how you see yourself. And I made a post the other day about how we never really see ourselves objectively. For example, you might look at the mirror and you find that if you're looking at yourself, you find that you're being way critical about your body. You're not really looking at anything that looks nice in your body. You're just looking at everything that is wrong with it. And we all tend to go towards that place where we are very critical about our bodies. You pick out something, maybe your stomach, your hands, and we use these words about our bodies. We're always just so satisfied with the way our bodies look. And we use words like pig, fat, because we think fat means ugly or unfit or indisciplined. And whatever words make meaning according to what we think about those words. So you think fat means ugly, fat means lazy. So when you call yourself fat, you're calling yourself ugly, lazy, not attractive, not sexy, and it also affects the way we treat our bodies. Sometimes we don't care about our health as much until it's time to lose weight or time to change it, because we don't really feel like our bodies deserve to be treated in a certain way, because we are still in a certain body size. And let me break down what I mean. Sometimes we don't want to go to the gym because we are still, a number on the scale is still this amount. So we want to diet first. We want to restrict food. So we are skinny as possible before we can now start to exercise. And I understand the logic and the thinking behind that, but it doesn't really work that way. And I believe that's the reason why a lot of programs that work like programs that say things like do this diet with minimal exercise. It means those people are not well educated on health and fitness, on how health and fitness works. And it's not more about your health anymore. We've reduced ourselves to a number on the scale on our body size. It's not more necessarily about health if somebody is taking away exercise from it. So it still boils down to the media, and if it affects the way we eat, affects the way we relate to our bodies, and then we're in this constant cycle of diet because those things are not sustainable for how your body works biologically, how your body would want to work. And if you're not treating your body right, your body will cry. Your body is not fighting you. Sometimes we say things about fighting fat, but your body is not fighting. Your body is literally giving you what you're giving it and still trying to bring you back to the optimal place it wants to be in. So when you're dissatisfied with your body, we tend to drive towards thinness, thinking that when we become thin, we would now be satisfied with our bodies. But what you do to your body affects how you see your body image. And I've talked about body image I have a whole lecture on body image, and you should really check that out. If you want access to it, I think it's on my YouTube, but you have to register to have access to the link. And register to just get access to all of the replays on this webinar. So we tend to restrict eating. Because of that, we don't our psychology is lowered. And then we tend to become really anxious, right? And I've spent a lot of time on diet cycles. Now let's talk about overeating cycle. There's something that typically leads us to overeating. Most times we eat it's more like a cycle. Sometimes it starts somewhere, but maybe there's an emotional trigger, right? And maybe that emotional trigger is you got a bad news, right? And you start to feel some kind of way. You start to feel nervous, you feel sad, you feel down, you feel indifferent, and you just want to feel something. So you start to eat. And because you're not really paying attention to you're not paying attention to what is going on inside you anymore, we could overeat from there. Not we could, because it feels good, it tastes good in your mouth. You just want to keep eating. Ignoring when you become full, you just keep eating and eating and eating, not minding if you're full or not. Emotional eating, there's nothing wrong with it, but it tends to lead to overeating and binge eating. That is where it becomes critical, because it tends to lead to we eating more than required. And when you do it consistently, that is where we start to feel guilt and shame about it. And then because we feel guilty or because we feel ashamed because we've overeaten, we now start to cut out foods even more than we were before. And it's a cycle, and it's no more sustainable. So it triggers hunger, more hunger that you would want to admit, and then you overeat again, and then you feel bad, you feel worse this time. And then because you're trying to make up for all of those times where you've overeaten, you restrict. Now it becomes a cycle. Now you're just in that cycle of eating, overeating, you feel guilty, you restrict, and then you become hungry again, or something triggers it. You look at yourself in the mirror, the weight is not going down, you eat to feel good. Remember, we talked about emotional eating, the need to eat to avoid a certain feeling, to feel differently. And then you feel guilty again, and then you restrict. It's a cycle. It's common, and it's completely normal. However, there are ways to deal with it. As I said, we tend to just give up because we feel like there are no ways to think of to treat these things. There are no way to navigate these things. And there are actually ways to think to navigate it. And there are strategies I'm going to be providing. And now, if you're looking at this slide, yeah, I know I'm talking to a camera, but I have a slide, but the slide will be available still in this video if you catch the replay. Okay, so now emotion when you're triggered or when you get hungry, there are ways to really navigate these things. You have to learn how to regulate your emotions, and it takes a more mindful approach that we are not used to. I know we are used to going on a fitness journey that is bam, 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 exercise, show up, enough energy, you have motivation, let's go, let's go, let's go. But sometimes, in fact, most of the times, it doesn't look like that. That is why many of us don't know how to go on a different kind of fitness journeys, because we want it to be high energy, pumping, and every time you type workout music on any streaming platform, you're going to find music that high energy. There's this genre I'm looking for. Is it high funk, punk music? And even if you're going for Christian workout music, you're still gonna get dance workout, and it doesn't always look like that. Sometimes it looks like taking a pause, breathing in, sitting down mindfully for a while, thinking about what we really want. And I know it's a very boring approach to fitness, but this is how you actually feel good in your body. This is how you develop bodily awareness. This is how you learn to care for yourself. And this is one of the most important parts of your fitness journey, because if you think about it, many of us are so emotional about our fitness journeys. We don't know how to handle it. You're not really sure how to approach it. And because we're confused, fitness should just be all about showing up and exercising and being in a deficit and eating certain food certain ways. When it now becomes emotional, we don't know how to do it. And I had that same experience. I remember one time I had knee pain, and exercise is all about funk and jumping and lifting really heavy, and I couldn't navigate this knee pain anymore. I used bands. I invested in the most, I don't know, really quality bands. I think I got it, wasn't how much, but it was really expensive, trying to wrap my knees. And I would lift heavy, 120 kgs, 140. I think I got to 160 at one point. And at that time, the knee got really bad. Every time I took off the band, I'll get this really sharp pain on my knee. So I started researching, and I found out that, and I became really emotional about it. Actually, I became very emotional. I was thinking, so this is how I'm never going to be able to exercise again, because how is everybody working out and nobody has knee pain? Because I'm looking at the gym, nobody's reacting like they have knee pains. So I started researching, I started reading, and I found that it was completely normal. However, my approach to exercise had to change. I was forced to slow down. I was forced to think about other ways of moving my body. I started to explore other ways. Did it come to mind that I will never be able to exercise? Yes. Did I stop exercising? Yes, because I couldn't find the motivation anymore to show up that way. So sometimes we don't have the energy to show up and exercise because we've not eaten. Not because you're not an exercise person, but because you've not cared for yourself enough to have the energy to exercise. And maybe because you're looking at exercise as a certain way, it has to be this way. If it's not this way, then I've not done enough exercise. That is why some of us, after 20 squats, we give up, right? Because we don't have the energy to reach to that place, that amount of exercise we want to do. And we're really feeling tired now. 20 squats and I'm tired. I've tried for the day. You're just getting started. That's just a warm-up. And don't get me wrong, not to scare you, but there are other ways you can move your body and get really good exercise in without doing squats or doing a particular set of workouts. And why did I get here? Emotional regulations. When you're triggered, there are ways to regulate yourself. There are ways to bring yourself back and ask yourself, why am I really hungry? Or am I really hungry for this food? What am I feeling in my body? Am I anxious? Am I sad? Am I happy? Why do I want to eat this food? So that will give you an opportunity to actually pause. And maybe if You're eating. You jumped the whole hunger. You didn't apply emotional regulation strategies, and you're like, okay, now you're eating. It's okay to stop in between and say, why am I eating this food? Right? Do I really have to continue eating this? It's okay to pause and listen. Just a 2 second pause in between the food, like bringing your awareness back to the food can help you, say, that's, there's something called choice point. Um, this food I'm eating, is it taking me closer to the goal I want? And if your goal is fat loss, for example, this food I'm eating, is it taking me closer to my goal? Or maybe your goal is to, become healthier and happier and stronger. This particular food I'm eating, is it taking me closer to my goal or away from it? You have you have to make a point and a choice, and that choice either takes you away from your goal or takes you towards it. So now you've overeaten, like you can, and you have to be okay. Now maybe you have overeaten, right? This is where self-compassion comes in. You have to be kind enough to yourself to say, to acknowledge what has happened, to acknowledge how you feel, to acknowledge that you've overeaten and say, I'm going to make this decision now to be kinder to myself. And that being kinder to yourself could mean you're not going to restrict your next meal. You're just going to make a better decision on your next meal. And this is what coaching looks like. And this is what fitness coaching should look like exactly. Not condemning yourself and saying, okay, now I am going to cut out all foods. I'm going to remove all carbs, all Coca-Cola, all soda. I'm going to remove all bad foods, quote unquote bad foods, because over here we don't think any food is bad. We just think food is food. Right? I feel like because we call food good or bad, we tend to feel even more guilt when we eat certain foods. And sometimes when we overeat, we don't overeat on whole foods, we tend to overeat on processed food. So we feel really bad because we've associated those foods to being bad. Now, instead of restricting, you learn more about food. Learn more about food that make you feel good. Learn more about macronutrients. Get into unpacking nutrition. So you really understand food, understand your macronutrient and how food nourish your body. And how, because I get people tend to ask questions about I've eaten, but I still feel really hungry. That is where that your daily requirement is really important. Understanding how macronutrients works, right? So, for example, if you weigh, say, 80 kgs, and the daily requirement for carbohydrate is 50% of your total daily nutrients. So, if you're required to eat 2,000 calories, that means the carbs in it should be 1,000 calories. And how do you calculate these things? This is okay, let me just go into how do you calculate it? Each macronutrient in carbohydrate is 4 calories. Each gram of carbohydrates, the calories in each gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. So you multiply that by 50%, and you get the total requirement for your 2,000. And it's just basically 1,000 calories. And how do you get your protein? It's, I think, 0.8 of your total body weight. So you multiply 0.8 times 80 kgs. You get 64 grams of protein times 4. You get the total amount, and then this is the amount of protein I need, this is the amount of carbohydrates I need. And you do the same thing for fat. I think your daily requirement for fat is 0.35 grams or so, maybe 35 grams. So you multiply that by 9 calories and you get the amount of fat you need this is just your daily requirement. Sometimes if you are exercising or you're very active, your requirement for protein tends to go up 1.1 kg, 2 kg per body weight. So it all depends. It depends. So you have to be learning these things takes time. It takes exploration. That is why you have to give yourself time to get into a fitness journey. Giving up when after 3 weeks of being in a deficit is like, it's like saying, okay, because it takes time. Before that 3 weeks of being in a deficit, there was 2 weeks or 3 weeks of eating a certain way. So you're not going to start seeing the shift in scale just yet because you still weigh the same as you were 3 weeks ago. For your body to now start showing that changes on the scale, give it for one from 1 month up. If you're actually in a deficit, you will see this change. If you're actually in a surplus, you're going to see the change, right? So what am I saying all these things is, excuse me, sometimes you go on a fitness journey expecting something quick, and quick means totally means something is happening quickly. Sometimes maybe you have been in a deficit before. Sometimes maybe you've been in a deficit before deciding, okay, now I'm now going to start my fitness journey. So it happens quickly. Or maybe you're in a bigger body size and you change your lifestyle. And because you're heavier, your body is going to be using more energy. If you're lighter, your body starts to use less energy and your body starts to get used to certain things. So it doesn't use the same energy, just so many things. And it is not something you're going to cover in this lecture because we are already, gone way past time. So if you are not, paying attention to your hunger cues and your internal cues, what your body is telling you, are you full? Are you hungry? If you don't know how to regulate negative feelings, if you don't know, if you tend to avoid emotional stress, it's all sign of emotional dysregulations. So those things tend to lead to emotional eating, right? Maybe you're not paying attention to when your body is full. You're just eating because the food is nice. And we tend to do that a lot. The food tastes great. So you just keep eating, especially processed food. Imagine there's this one I like a lot, meat pie and ice cream. Just mix them together. I can eat it for days. Right. But when I started paying attention to what my body felt like, I noticed that the pleasure it gives after a while tends to just go off. If you're really paying attention, at a time it stops tasting really good, like it just loses its taste because the first bite was everything, second bite, third bite, fourth bite, and then you start to feel full. You notice your body is designed in that way that when you start to feel full, you don't get as much pleasure as the first bite. I think it's called the law of diminishing returns. I'm still looking for the term for it. So if you start to pay attention to satisfaction, to pleasure, and it's not just food, with everything. If you start to pay attention to how moving your body really feels like, other than just mindlessly doing exercise, doing 20,000 jump rows just because it's 20,000 jump rows. So you feel good about the numbers, not necessarily feeling good about moving your body. When you start to pay attention to these things, you start to really understand how these things make you feel. And these are the self-care strategies, bringing mindful awareness to the moment, to what you're eating, to what you're consuming, to how you're moving your body. And sometimes we just break it down to eat without distractions, slow down. Those are the techniques to it. But the strategies, I don't know if technique and strategy is the same thing, but the concept behind all of those tips and tricks is really paying attention to what you're eating so that you would know when you're full, to know if you actually really enjoy eating this way, because enjoyment is really important in your fitness journey. If you're not enjoying the food you're eating, you're not going to be able to stick to a diet long term. Sometimes, so many people in the fitness industry have lost their sense of enjoyment, and I don't mean this to in a negative way. Sometimes you see people that, maybe you just enjoy eating a certain way, but sometimes you see people that, eat the same thing over and over again because of their physique, only for their physique. There is something problematic about that because you've lost all sense of enjoyment, right? And you are contouring your body. You're just so obsessed with what your body looks like that you're willing to sacrifice so many things to look a certain way, it's not more healthy. And all of these things are signs of emotional dysregulation, right? So you have to ask yourself, are you numbing or are you comforting yourself? This is the tricky part. Are you numbing yourself with food, with exercise, with restriction, or are you comforting yourself? So what you do is, if it's real comfort, you lean into it. Like, okay, if you're not comfortable in the way you're feeling, like you're really anxious, you sit with the anxiety. Don't identify with it. Don't say my anxiety. Just say I'm feeling anxious. You sit with it. What is it telling you? Where is it coming from? What caused it? What did you do in the last minute? Or is there something that you're trying to ignore that is making you anxious? Because every time I felt anxious, either I'm ignoring something or I have to do something and I'm ignoring it, or there's a big task ahead of me. There's always that thing that makes you anxious. Name it, sit with it, and know how you can navigate that. Right. And then acknowledge it. It's okay to feel anxious sometimes. And I think it just sitting with it a little bit gives you so much clarity, right? And then when you're about to eat the food, are you just eating this food because it's really sweet and you enjoy it and that's okay? Are you eating it to numb something? That is when you overeat it. But if you're eating a bar of chocolate, like, I love it, you're going to find because you are allowing yourself enjoy it, you're not going to eat much of it because as a time it loses its taste, right? And that's why I don't believe in cutting out foods. I believe in giving yourself permission to eat. And when you give yourself permission to eat all of those things, you find that it's not a big deal anymore, right? And there are some helpful questions you can ask. Are these choices comforting or nourishing you, or are they not? Is it going to make you feel worse? Sometimes you feel worse when we've overeaten on certain foods. It's not about good or bad. Sometimes after eating a whole bunch of sugar, you start to feel somehow too much energy but no outlets, and then you start to watch a movie mindlessly, and you start to distract yourself. And we're still going to talk about that. So there are some questions here, and if you get back to replay, you're going to find the PDF, and you're going to have to sit and ask yourself this question, right? And if you're numbing it, it means you're trying to avoid discomfort. So you're going to start to lick the ice cream like, okay, mindlessly, I'm just going to. Okay, now let's talk about this choice point. I don't think I've gotten to this. Okay, so choice point. Are you, maybe you're overweight and unfit, and you have to make a choice, right? With every decision you make, you're going to be like, okay, maybe you're feeling like, I am fat, I am overweight, I'm unfit, I feel so unhealthy. So now every choice you make is either taking you towards feeling better or taking you away from feeling better. You're already having these thoughts, feelings, you are unwell, you are unfit, and it's not really about size. If you're unwell, unfit, it could be you're bigger or you're lean. You could be fat or you could be lean, but you can be feeling unfit. Maybe you are unfit and you are unwell and you want to change, and the quality of your life is really low. And every choice, you're now in the point where you have to make a choice. Every choice you make on your fitness journey is either taking you towards your fitness goal or away from it. Are you avoiding exercise? Are you drinking a lot of alcohol? Are you overeating on processed food? Are you under eating? Maybe you're not eating enough. Maybe you're spending a lot of time scrolling online. We tend to do that sometimes. Maybe every choice. This is like, I think yeah, I was studying it when it came to fitness, but it has to do with life in general, right? And I'm not it has to do with life in general. Are you exercising? So if you're drinking more alcohol, and then you say, my goal is really to lose weight, and then every bottle of alcohol you drink maybe is taking you way past your calorie requirement. That means you're not going to be losing weight anytime soon, and you're not really exercising. Maybe after taking the alcohol, you don't have the energy to really exercise the way you want to exercise or move around. You now want to lay down and watch movies, and then you don't want to hang out with friends. You see the quality of your life reducing socially, mentally, physically, all these things. Environmentally, it's affecting you because you don't have the energy to care for yourself. Your environment is untidy. You're mentally depressed, and you are going down this point away from your fitness goal. But if you feel like you are not fit, you're unwell, you start to make choices towards exercising and eating well, hanging out with friends, going on walks, and because you're doing all of those things, you're able to focus more on work, you have more mental clarity, you're going towards your goals. You see, the choice point, you have to make a choice on your fitness journey. And I think this is the very critical part when it comes to coaching. So, fitness is not just showing up to the gym and exercising. These are the all-rounders. So many people, you see lifting heavy, you have to go towards your life values, right? And you don't compare yourself to power lifters and people that train really hard. You don't compare yourself to those. You'd look at how fitness will make your life better, will make showing up with friends better, will make showing up at work better, will make you feeling agile better. Think about how fitness can help you with all of that. And you have to make a choice every time on your fitness journey. This choice I'm about to do now, this thing I'm about to do now, is it taking me closer to my fitness goal or is it taking me away from it? So you name that. And yeah. So now I want to discuss this window of tolerance. Your body wants to be in an optimal state. Your body wants to be in a state, right? But sometimes, and in this state, this is a really interesting slide. And this window of tolerance, and this is where your body wants to be. This is where your body is calm, your body can reason. Ever been in those places where you're really angry and somebody tells you something and it feels like it just flares you up? It means you're in this hyper arousal state where you are maybe overwhelmed by everything that is happening. You're in a flight or fight mode where, and it's stress. And I discussed it in our stress webinar where you either enter flight or fight, where if something happens, you're, overwhelmed, anxious, overactive, you're just in this place, you're angry, you're overwhelmed, you're not able to reason in this place. And sometimes when we're here, we tend to go towards food at the end of the day to help us, give us that sense of feeling normal, feeling calm again. Or maybe when you're numb, you're sad, you're exhausted, you're ashamed, we tend to numb ourselves in this place. And where we want to be is within this window of tolerance where we are not overwhelmed. Sometimes it also happens to us, just something happy happens, where something good happens, something positive, and we get so, aroused with emotions, unable to relax, we're just restless. We tend to go towards food, but in this place of tolerance where we are calm, we want to always come back to this place. And that is what we do with food. Food tends to bring us back, to calm us down. And it becomes problematic, as I said in the beginning, food where food is your only mechanism of getting to this place, where food is the only thing that brings you to this place, right? Where food is the only thing that brings you back to this window of tolerance. So you have to learn other coping strategies. And that is why we are in this course. Even if we don't really go into it exactly, we are really going to expand it in upcoming webinars, right? Because this is where this webinar is situated around. I'm having a bit of network issues, and yeah, and I really hope you understand this slide, and what it is. Okay. We tend to go to this place of withdrawal where we start to feel like, what's the point? What's the point of going on a fitness journey either ways? Right. And it's okay to feel these things because it's human to feel these things. But what is not okay is when food is our only source of healing or handling those things. I got caught off with network. I'm going to try to go back in my slide. All right, let's share. Okay, yeah. So, right. So, there are tips for helping you regulate your emotion. Tips to help you de-regulate your emotion. Uh, so, what this means is to help you come back to your zone, your optimal zone. Yeah, techniques, grounding techniques throughout the day. Bring yourself back to the present moment. Maybe touch. Maybe there's something I learned in a mindfulness course where we tend to have something we use to bring ourselves back. Maybe it's a chain you use. Maybe it's a way you ground yourself using your hands. And I used to think that all of these things are eerie feary kind of kind of thing, but sometimes you really need to bring yourself back to the present moment. Especially say you've gotten the bad news and you just want to sit down, and sometimes you need that. But if food is your only coping mechanism, it's going to hurt you and your goal in the long run. So you start to learn ways to ground yourself throughout the day. When the day has been stressful, you're going through an unusual process. You have to find ways to calm yourself, bring yourself back to the present moment. Um, you have to look for ways to really allow yourself to be present here. Maybe look around you and identify things, specific things you can see, specific colors, paying attention to sounds, not just the very obvious sounds, the sound the more silent sounds, like maybe a specific sound, and just listen for it so it brings you back to the present moment. There is this part of self-soothing where maybe you just lay down on the floor, close your eyes if you have the opportunity, or maybe drink a cold cup of water. So many things you can maybe breathe in, and then there is intentional rest, not just rest. So you take it off and maybe sit down somewhere, but resting. This is the part where you'd close your eyes and rest, not sleep. Maybe not rest. Maybe don't close your eyes. Just breathe in and allow your body sink into wherever you're seated or lying down, and intentionally shut off all devices and rest. And I know many of us, you might not have that luxury, but having ways to somewhere to breathe in, maybe anywhere to breathe in and slowly breathe out really helps a lot. Setting boundaries, saying what you want, saying what you really want. And I think I heard this the first time with Jordan Peterson, saying exactly what you really want from somebody. You're in a relationship and you really want a certain level of commitment, saying exactly what you want. And I know in Africa, in Nigeria, as women, we're not really advised to say what we want. And because a lot of us are emotionally dysregulated, we don't know how to voice what we want without all other emotions coming up. Because we don't care out for ourselves in this way, we tend to bottle up a lot of emotions inside, that every time we try to show one emotion, every other emotion comes out. So it tends to come out a certain way that many people might not know how to handle. This has gone from a fitness coaching course and a life course, but this is a personal ideology of mine. And from studying emotions and everything. I know that a lot of us bottle up emotions that we want to speak. All of the emotions and feelings come up, and we might, you know, enter this hyper arousal mode, and we're saying a lot of things because we're overwhelmed by all these emotions that we don't know how to handle coming up all at once. So setting boundaries is really important. And because you don't know how to regulate it, you see how that can lead you back to eating to feel good, right? Eating and eating and eating. Maybe you're eating chicken and sauce, very yummy. Then you're eating and eating and eating, and then you don't want to feel what you're doing at that moment because you don't want to feel. You will not feel anything. Even if you're full, you don't want to feel it. It's just tasting great. And it might not even be tasting um the sweetness anymore. Or you're not able to savor it anymore. You're just eating. You have to build connection with others, true connection. Friendships where you can really say how you feel, where you get pampered, where you play, where you laugh. There's so many ways to handle those things. And you might say, how does this affect my fitness journey? How does this make my fitness journey any better? If your goal is fat loss or you want to learn how to eat, or so you stop overeating or undereating, you have to learn how to regulate your emotions so you can feel good about yourself, so you can get to your fitness goal. So you stop giving up when things get hard, when things get emotional, when you have to, slow down and exercise because you have knee pain or back pain, and you have to learn other ways of exercising that you're not used to. Regulating your emotions will really help you get to your fitness goals. And we have come to the end of our emotional eating webinar. I hope you took something away from it. And I I definitely hope you took something away from it. And I'm happy I got to do this with us today. And if you need more resources, more information, I advise you to join the Move You Love community. It's called the Oasis of Wellness. I love that name because it's more like a community where you have access to all the information on wellness. And if it's not there, it's always being updated with the most recent, up to date, evidence based information to help you on your fitness journey, to help you navigate the world of fitness, to help you build a sustainable fitness lifestyle. At the end of the day, you have a strong, healthy, happy body. So whether your goal is to gain weight or lose weight, or just build a strong body, this is the community for you. I'm not a fat loss coach. I am a fitness, health, and wellness coach. So it's my core belief that fitness makes life better. If your fitness journey is making you miserable, then it's not healthy. Fitness makes life better. Fitness makes you do the things you want to do very well. That's just what fitness means. Fitness means the ability to do a thing. So if you can't play with your kids, then you're not fit enough to play with your kids, and your fitness goals should help you get there. If you don't have energy to show up at work and work the way you want to, then your fitness goals should help you get there. But if your fitness goals is draining you because you're not eating enough, you're starving, you're fasting, you're counting your food, then that's not fitness and that's not health. And fitness and health works hand in hand. Fitness and health, they go together. You can't be fit if you're not healthy. You can't be healthy if you're not fit. They go hand in hand, literally. So if your fitness or whatever you're doing to get your fitness goal is taken away from your life, then it is wrong and you shouldn't be doing that. So I invite you to join the Oasis of Wellness community. So you have all the information in one place. Get to ask me questions every time you're confused about something. And thank you for showing up on this webinar. I am excited. I am grateful for the time. And I can't wait to see us next week, Saturday. Have a very good day. Um, have a very good day, everyone. Take care. I will see you next Saturday. Bye.